What's up, everybody? Welcome to RotoGrinders MLB Crunch Time, presented by Fanduel. And we're back. Big Sunday slate of action here. We've been up early, though. We're putting up scores and odd picks, a ton of them, some home run calls, etc. Keith has a 2-unit play. Maybe if I twist his arm, maybe we can get him to share that as well. But I'm the Luch, and I'm joined by Keith, the Iceman Eister. TJ Zwarich is with us, too. I seem to pronounce his name correctly. He likes that. TJ, do you have some kind of nickname that has been dubbed to you that I don't know about?
Here, I don't think so. Kirk Dees has been firing some slander my way recently. He's calling me a grifter, trying to con people into getting me wedding gifts in the chat, stuff like that. I'm just doing my classic RG duty, trying to give it to Dean a little bit, and he's not liking it. So I gotta back off before he gives me a mean nickname. But just TJ or Tej is usually ones my friends roll with.
All right, TJ. Maybe we can have the chat give you some G-rated fun nicknames some point. We can have a TJ nickname contest. But good to see you again. And Keith, how are you, my friend? Good to see you as well.
Yeah, doing good. Got an interesting slate here. One very clear pitcher in a great spot. Well, two pretty good pitchers in great spots. Plenty of offense to go around as well with some elite bats in some great spots against bad pitching. So this should be a pretty fun one here. And I can definitely hit on that strikeout prop here in a little bit.
Cool. TJ, I know you play a lot on FanDuel, so I'm curious to see what your take on the pitching pool is. We have two guys at the high end. Obviously, McClanahan, great matchup, projected to carry a ton of ownership. Dylan Cease, obviously, we know what his stuff is. You saw it firsthand against the Blue Jays about 5 days ago. But, the flip side of that is it looks to be like some very good hitting weather in the Dylan Cease game there. So FanDuel pitching, TJ, let me hear your thoughts.
It's going to be a very tight pool for me today. I've talked often recently about how I feel there's quite often very concentrated ownership going to pitchers lately. And I like pivoting off it. Today, I really view McClanahan and Cease as the top options by far, and I'm not going to I'm not going to be pivoting off that today. I'll try and get different with some bats, and I'm going to be definitely playing some Cease and McClanahan today.
It's great to have strategies, but every slate is so fluid based on a million different variables that sometimes you just have to play the cards that you have, right? And these other high-end guys, I don't think they have similar upside. I'm pretty worried about Nestor Cortez. I mean, Keith, let me hear your thoughts on the DK pitching pool, but Cortez is kind of a mystery man, high strikeout rates, but his swinging strikeout stuff hasn't really been good all season. Last calendar month or so, you look at his splits using like our MLB Plate IQ tool, which is awesome, by the way, and righties have really been crushing Cortez lately. I'm a Yankees fan, and I'm a little worried about some Cortez regression. Don't think I necessarily want to go to him against Houston. Any other high-end pitching options? What are you looking at on DK? And maybe, give me some lower value options you're looking at.
Yeah, so it's very clearly McClanahan and Cease ahead of Cortez. Cortez is a really good pitcher, but I've been saying all year that his strikeout rate looks fraudulent to me, and we're kind of seeing that play out here over the past month or so. Now he gets this matchup against Houston, who is an incredibly low strikeout team, very powerful offense in Yankee Stadium. So I don't think Cortez is even in the same tier as McClanahan and Cease. And of those two, I strongly prefer McClanahan over Cease as well. McClanahan is in such a great spot. This matchup against Pittsburgh is as elite as it gets. I'm locking in McClanahan in my 20 lineups. He will be in every single lineup. I don't see how Pittsburgh gets to him. It's a great ballpark. He has some of the best strikeout stuff in the majors. Like, he is just an elite play today. Cease is fine. Weather is a little bit dicey for him in Chicago. There, winds are blowing out. It's warm. Not that Baltimore is a huge threat, but I do have McClanahan ahead of Cease. Probably won't be able to get over the field on Cease because I'm locking McClanahan, and I want to pay up for some of these bats. But he's very clearly the number two behind McClanahan. On DK, some of these pricing are interesting. The mid-tier, I think I'd be looking at Brady Singer. Great matchup for him against Oakland, 8,100. I think he makes a fine SP2 option. Jose Barrios has been just tough to figure out this season. He has struggled all year long. Not the worst matchup against Milwaukee. There's some strikeout bats in that lineup. I just don't trust the recent form here. So I will lean to Singer in that matchup just because his matchup is far easier. We need to talk about Jack Flaherty because he's only 6,600 going up against a not great Cubs team with some strikeouts in the lineup. Report came out he's going to be limited to 85 to 90 pitches. He has just not looked right in his 2 starts back. The control has been all over the place. 5 walks in his last start. He's grabbing ownership, and I'm not loving what I'm seeing there. I don't know if you want to give out your 2-unit play over on Scores and Odds, but you also have one of those. One guy who's interesting to me is James Caprillion. I looked into him a little bit because he had 7 strikeouts in his last start. He used his slider 43% of the time in his last start. Dropped his fastball usage a ton, and the fastball has been a horrible pitch for him. Very negative pitch value on Fangraphs. The slider, the change, and the curve have all been slightly above average. So he's got 3 pretty good pitches. If he's going to lean on that off-speed stuff, I'm going to look to Caprillion as the pivot off of Flaherty.
Yeah, Flaherty a bit more pricey on FanDuel. It just hasn't looked good. You know, when you dig into pitching props as much as we do on Scores and Odds, especially, and just betting in general, you know, you look up velocity and the whole nine. And Flaherty threw 92 on the gun his first start, dipped to 91 in his second start. I know things can fluctuate. Still not a great sign. There was a long period of time before he got hurt last summer where he was hitting 94 on the gun. So I'm not ready to call him the same pitcher. I took the under on his 5.5K props today. I understand the value because it is the Cubs. Although, like, I feel like there's a crappy stigma surrounding the Cubs. Some of their K rates are much better this year. And I know people might know you're a Cubs fan, so they'd probably call you a homer if you were the one to say that. So I don't think it's as bad. Although, you know, it is Jack Flaherty, you know, household name. Maybe he gets it together. TJ, any interest in Flaherty? I know he's like, in the 8K range on FanDuel. I can't go there with the limited pitch count. I just don't think he's right.
Yeah, no, not for me. The only other guys outside of Cease and McClanahan I've kind of been considering are Singer, who I don't want to go to. Ryan's probably my 3rd favorite. Rosie Contreras, James Caprillion. They're people I've considered, and if I was going 150 today, I'd probably be getting to. But the reason Caprillion scares me a bit is just because Casey's running out 6 lefties today. And that's kind of the big thing scaring me off. He's always been a guy I really like playing against right-handed, when a very right-handed heavy lineup because of that slider usage. So he scares me a little bit today, but he is a guy who always has high strikeout upside. But for me, it's just going to be a McClanahan Cease day and mixing in a little bit of Ryan.
Yeah, I would have had mild interest in Contreras, but Wander Franco is back, and that Tampa lineup just looks much better than what we originally had projected early this morning. So I'm not going Contreras, although he's kind of like a man crush pitcher of mine, and I think his stuff is good long term. Keith, what you give any interest in Contreras or anybody else you want to bring up for DK?
I love the stuff on Contreras. Super talented prospect. I need him. I need to see a little bit more out of him. I've been on his strikeout props the last 2 times, and he just hasn't been able to figure it out. The defense behind him is a little bit shaky. The control is a little bit shaky. He's been decent with that, but he's going to get better in that regard. I'm going to jump on eventually. Like I said, I love the stuff. He's a great prospect. I don't think I need it today. Singer feels a little bit safer, and Caprillion, just that price tag on him, saving that money is very valuable today when I want to spend up for McClanahan, and there's all kinds of elite bats in great spots. Totally agree with TJ. On FanDuel, I would not mess with anything down here. And Caprillion does have a lot of high risk. Great point there on the lefties in the lineup. It is strictly a price play on DK only for me, just to try to fit in some of those big bats with McClanahan. But on FanDuel, where you've got you can only play one pitcher, you need one of those 2 big ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we go any further, if you're a new FanDuel Sportsbook user in a legal betting state, you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. So definitely want to take advantage of that. And Scores and Odds, we have you covered over there. A lot of great stuff. Grant's putting out a lot of home run calls. And of course, we are super pumped to get through the rest of the summer, and football season will be here before we know it. The Hall of Fame game is in less than 40 days, guys, already. So right around the corner. It's crazy when you say it that way. But this is a baseball show. Nice little pitching breakdown. Drop your questions in our Discord, and we'll also keep an eye on the YouTube chat. I know TJ is always keeping an eye over there too. So we'll get to some questions at the end, but let's go through.
Let me talk about Glenn Otto a little bit before we move on to hitting. He is projected to start for the Rangers right now. The 2-unit play I have is Glenn Otto under 3.5 strikeouts. He only threw 2 2/3 innings in his rehab start in AAA. It's the only time he's pitched in a game since June 4th. I don't think he gets anywhere near 80 pitches. He might not even be starting the game. I've seen reports that he's coming out of the bullpen as a bulk reliever. So 80 pitches is an absolute ceiling on him, and I would put it more around 60 if I was like trying to guess his pitch count. 3.5 strikeouts is just too high against a low strikeout Nationals team. So give me the under on Glenn Otto, 3.5 strikeouts.
Yeah, I love that. I'm in. So I'm tailing the Iceman on that one. And sorry, I totally forgot about your big 2-unit play. But that kind of goes hand in hand with maybe a contrarian stack. It sounds like Texas could be a mess on the bump today. So can get some seriously under-owned power in that Washington team. But let's go position by position first, I suppose. I guess we'll start with catcher and DK. We can kind of tie in if there's any catchers that are appealing to either of you for FanDuel as well. Let's take a look here. So Mitch Garver isn't playing baseball today, and that stinks. He's under 3K on FanDuel, but we don't have him in our pool anymore. You have Contreras against Flaherty, who might not be right. He's projected to carry basically no ownership on FanDuel, by the way. Alexander Kirk's in a good spot against Chichi Gonzalez, who still pitches somehow. I don't mind. What's that?
Alejandro.
I'm sorry. Blue Jays guy on the show. So
how dare you disrespect the Blue Jays like that?
Names we butcher. Maybe we can get a graphic for it. So whoever's the host, we can play like the over/under. How many names am I gonna butcher today? 6.5, and maybe that could be the new crunch time. But yeah, and you have Rutschman, who's still pretty cheap on FanDuel in that weather game against Jordan Lyles, who gave up 37 home runs last year. So interesting spots there. DK specifically, where catcher is pretty damn important. Keith, what are your thoughts there at the position?
Yeah, I love Kirk. Matchup against Gonzalez, super low strikeouts. Kirk's been hitting the ball really well. Don't love the ownership, though, so I'm only playing him in a Blue Jays stack. MJ Melendez is my favorite tournament pivot. I mentioned I'm going to play some Caprillion, but TJ made a great point about lefties absolutely owning Caprillion throughout his entire career. So Melendez, a big power bat, fills the catcher position, one of my favorite tournament bats on the whole slate. Looking cheaper, Jeffers is cheap for Minnesota. They're in a decent spot against Feltner, who's a young guy who really hasn't figured it out yet. Zavala for the White Sox, another guy, 2,700 on him against Jordan Lyles. Don't mind that one. And Riley Adams catching for Washington against Otto is who we have listed. I've seen Corbin Martin, I believe, was the name I saw, who's going to start, and Otto was going to come in as the bulk guy. But I do like Riley Adams a good amount too.
Big ownership numbers on Kirk and Jeffers. I'm assuming one of them would be your cash gameplay based on those ownership numbers, right, Keith?
Yeah, Kirk's the cash game to play pretty easily.
Okay. Yeah, that's a huge. I mean, for tournaments, like you kind of alluded to it, that's just such a big number, though. I mean, geez. Yeah, TJ, got anything to add about your guy Kirk? And if you want to throw the proper enunciation out one more time, go for it.
Alejandro. Yeah, I actually like him a lot on FanDuel today. We talked about the ownership that Kirk and Jeffers are picking up on DK. Not so much on FanDuel, and believe it or not, as it stands right now, I got them both in my lineup.
Cool. Yeah, we'll move on to first base then. Let's see here.
First base on FanDuel, Vladdy is your top option. You got to pay up for him, which is tough if you're trying to pay up for pitching. But he is the top guy there. If you need to save some salary, I think next on the board for me would be Jose Abreu. The White Sox are in a good spot today, but I actually mentioned I don't mind in this spot going down to somebody like a Jeffers in my Minnesota stack as well. Minnesota and Toronto are my 2 top stacks today, and they're going to be pretty heavily owned, but I'm looking to get a little bit off of them in different ways. So stacking the back half a little bit. There are lots of cheap options here with high upside that you can go to. Bottom of the barrel guys who have home run upside, like a Ryan O'Hearn, Gavin Sheets. These are guys, Seth Brown. These are guys with power in good matchups that are very cheap. So first base is always a high opportunity cost position. Make sure you're going for somebody who has home run upside, either Vladdy or Goldschmidt, Rizzo up top, Jose Abreu, Tellez in the middle, or those cheapies like Gavin Sheets or Seth Brown at the bottom.
Yeah, and you will need some salary relief today with the high-end pitchers being in great spots. Goldschmidt, I love that ownership number. Obviously, you're paying for him as well. I don't mind taking a chance in my non-Dylan Cease lineups on like Trey Mancini, wind blowing out, hitting second in the order. Mancini's been picking it up the last month or so. Not surprised the Canada guy talked about it, a couple more Blue Jays at first base. Keith, do you have anybody else here?
Carlos Santana is one. He has a really nice price on DK, especially. Agree that Vladdy is the number one option here. Love both of the White Sox guys. Rowdy Tellez is still too cheap on DraftKings. And Josh Bell, I like him a good amount as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Josh Bell too. Second base, TJ. Any more Toronto guys you're looking at here, or?
We don't have Espinal leading off today, so that sours me on him a little bit. But believe it or not, I do like Biggio, even though he's batting 9th in tournaments. Up top, though, you got guys like Marcus Semien, who's in a really good spot. Nolan Gorman is in a good spot. He's interesting as well. Those would probably be like my kind of closest to optimal guys that I'd be looking at. I'd be looking at Semien, Gorman. For tournaments, I really like Jose Altuve. He's still underpriced, 3,300, facing against the lefty. Even if you don't want to stack Houston, you just want to rip Altuve as a one-off, I'm good with that as well. For me, mostly, though, this is going to be just like a completing the stack team because there are some decent options, but nobody that really stands out. The only guy that I'm really looking at as a one-off I like would be Altuve.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not comfortable with Cortez against righties right now. Things are kind of trending in the wrong direction. Altuve at like minimal ownership is really interesting. I agree with you there. I've been chasing a Nolan Gorman home run probably like the last 3 or 4 straight days. Supposed to get a lot of Alec Mills, who throws almost 40% of changeups to lefties. Nolan Gorman has had a ton of success against them. I threw a couple bucks in on Gorman to hit a home run. I think the Cardinals, I mean, they're costing some people money the last 48 hours, but I think the Cardinals-Cubs as a whole might be a really, really good, 2 good large field, like contrarian options today. Anybody else second base, Keith, you're looking at?
I'm with you on Gorman. I've been chasing that home run too. He was my call yesterday. Didn't work out again, so he's burned me 2 days in a row on that now. But I'm going right back. You touched on Mills and his numbers against lefties. Like last year, he was just abysmal against lefties. The ISO was over 300 for sure. It might even have been around 400. But yeah, love Gorman. Trevor Story in tournaments is somebody I like. I like this Boston stack a little bit. Savali is not a guy that gets blown up a ton. But I do like Boston's power against him. Probably more of a secondary stack than it will be a full stack for me. But like Story a good amount. The White Sox guys are cheap. And I love the Biggio call. Love wrapping that around to the top of the Blue Jays order to get all the power bats in there as well.
All right.
Speaking of home run calls, we got 40 likes here on YouTube right now. We got over 200 people watching. I'm feeling nice. I'll give one Spidey bomb as soon as we hit 50 because we're somewhat approaching lock here. But then as soon as we hit 75, let's fire out another one.
Sounds good.
Hit that like button. Free 50, Sunday content, courtesy YouTube. Come on.
50 is a good number. By the way,
courtesy Fanduel, I mean.
TJ's column is twice a week on RotoGrinders. Free, good stuff. What days of the week is it, TJ?
Tuesdays and Fridays, Agents of Fantasy column. We get some superhero puns in there. I give my top 4 favorite pitchers, top 3 favorite stacks, and if I'm MMEing, I kind of like to give my whole pitching pool as well.
All right, you got over 50 likes. So before we move on and take some questions, let's hear your first bomb call of the day.
First bomb call of the day. We hit it quicker than I was expecting. The second one is going to be the sneakier one. The first one is where we get a little bit chalkier with it. And today's first Spidey bomb is Max Kepler. Max Kepler's hitting a bomb today.
Cool. Let's go on moving here to third base. Devers going to carry ownership every slate. Keith, you talked about Boston a little bit here. I'm sure he kind of leads the charge for your exposure there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been awesome this year. One of the best hitters in baseball. So definitely want to play some of him. Donovan for the Cardinals has eligibility over here as well. Matt Chapman is somebody I really like. The bottom of this Blue Jays order is very enticing against a very low strikeout pitcher. I don't think Chichi Gonzalez stands a chance today. Said that before, and he finds a way. But love the way the Blue Jays set up here. Josh Smith is cheap for Texas. I like them again today. Jose Ramirez, you can always play. Like the ownership number on him. And Jake Berger for the White Sox, still pretty cheap.
TJ, I'm going to throw it over to shortstop for the sake of time here so we can take some questions. 65 likes in the chat. Keep them coming. And TJ will give another bomb if he hits the magic number. I like Stanton to go deep today. I know I don't really have a really cool name behind my home run call, but I like the way Stanton lines up there against a fly ball pitcher. In the Bronx, shortstop, TJ, I'll throw it back over to you.
Yeah, I'll touch third quick. Up top, Jose Ramirez, Devers. In the middle, Josh Donaldson and Matt Chapman. At short today, I really like Bo Bichette, 3,400 on Fanduel. He is just way too cheap there. This is a pretty ugly position. There's less guys that I like here than usual, and the ones I'm looking to are going to be either up top or in the, mid-tier. Bo Bichette, 3,400. Seager up a little bit more, 3,500 is a good play as well. Tim Anderson, same price as Bichette, is good as well. I like Bichette a little bit better. And then down low, Ahmed Rosario, 2,700 would be the guy I'd be looking to save salary with.
Tons of bats in the outfield today, fellas. Big ownership numbers on FanDuel. We have Judge and Buxton projected both over 30%. Then a handful of guys in the 20s, including Max Kepler, who is super cheap on FanDuel. The Twins are really popping on a lot of my builds today. And the lefties seem to be in a fantastic spot. So I like the Kepler call quite a bit there. Okay, tons of names we could rattle off here. A lot of high upside, as usual, in the outfield. So Keith, give me some of your plays here in the outfield.
Yeah, Yankees first. Reverse splits for Jose Urquidy. Massive power for Judge and Stanton. Absolutely love both of them. Benintendi, another one of those Royals lefties. He's really cheap on DK. Buxton in a phenomenal spot. George Springer is just a little bit too cheap. He's missed some time here coming back. 4,800 on DK. He should be 5,500 in this matchup. So love that price tag on Springer. Franmil Reyes has had a really rough season, but he's 2,800 with massive power. So I like him as a tournament one-off. Let's see here. The Twins guys are cheap as well. Kirilloff at 3,200. I like that as a value play. Duran, another one of those Red Sox that I like as a value play. And Dylan Carlson, another lefty for the Cardinals. Just underpriced. Mills really struggles with lefties. Love him today.
All right, TJ, over to you.
I really, really wish I was MMEing today because there's only a couple pitchers I like, and there's just so many stacks. Up top, Aaron Judge, Byron Buxton, George Springer, Juan Soto. Those would be the best four for me. I'm leaning towards right now George Springer as my top guy, but he's also coming back from a little bit of an injury, so I think maybe I'd rank him third actually behind Buxton and Luis Robert. Aaron Judge as well, though, absolutely phenomenal play. Andre in chat talking about liking Kyle Tucker quite a bit. I think that's an interesting one-off. But for me, this is going to be mostly just trying to fill out stacks. Like Max Kepler, Dylan Carlson, Cole Calhoun, and Franmil Reyes down low are four guys that I really like. Alex Kirilloff as well. But to me, this is just going to be mostly filling out stacks just because There's so many teams I want to get to. That's why I want to run 150, because like Houston, New York, Boston, Cleveland, Chicago White Sox, Minnesota, Toronto, St. Louis, Washington, Texas. Those are all the teams I'd be looking to get to in bunches today. And I'm sad that because I'm only playing one, I can't get there. But outfield is a wonderful, wonderful position, and I'd probably be trying to take my utility on Fanduel from outfield or first today.
For sure. Let's hit some questions. 1:35 Eastern is the lock time. The wind blowing out in Minnesota, does that give any more interest to the Twins? I think they're in a great spot regardless, specifically the lefties. So I think it's definitely a bump to the bats. Let's keep scrolling on here. Is the Brewers bullpen being so good a problem with stacking Toronto, TJ? I'll give the Blue Jays question over to you.
No, for me, because even though the bullpen's strong, if they still have a terrible starting pitcher, so we're hoping that they light them up in the first 3 innings, and if they do, we're not going to be seeing any of the good bullpen guys anyways. So that's not something that worries me, because we're shooting for a ceiling game. We're not shooting for 4 or 5 runs. That it would worry me if that's what was the goal, but we're hoping this guy gets blown up. So no, that's not something I'm worried about. 4 likes away from the second Spidey bomb. I'm trusting in you guys. You're going to hit the like button because of the free content we get because of FanDuel helping us fight the YouTube algorithm. And the second Spidey bomb today is going to be Matt Chapman at third. I think the back half of that Blue Jays lineup is nice and sneaky, and that's where I'm going to be going today.
So the first game locks at 1:35. It's New York and Houston. We like a lot of bats in that one. By the way, Roth has Boston at Cleveland labeled as yellow, folks. I don't think anyone's pitching Rich Hill or Savali, but the bats should be fine. Just a note there. Check out our RotoGrinders MLB weather page. So one game at 1:35. We'll motor through some questions, and maybe we'll stick around to talk about some stacks until 1:40. Generally speaking, QQ here. Keith, is it okay to fade Byron Buxton and the Twins today?
Yeah, I mean, it's on any baseball slate, it is okay to fade really anything ever. Baseball is one of the highest variance sports. Absolutely fine.
For sure. I agree. There's so many stacks today, by the way, that are in good spots. Any love for Tommy Edman? He's 7 for 8 off. Mills, Colson says, gotta love the BVP, but I like this Cardinals-Cubs game as some contrarian stacks too. I mean, high upside. I think Flaherty is messed up on the St. Louis side, and Alec Mills, enough said on Chicago. A lot of upside with those Cardinals bats here. Let's see.
Mills is easy to steal off of also, so absolutely love Edman. Good
note for sure. Here's a good 2v2 for you. DK Cash, TJ. Would you rather have Nick Gordon and Buxton or Bichette and Kirilloff?
First one.
Okay.
Gordon and Buxton.
Andre's in the chat and says Kyle Tucker and Melendez are his home run calls. Happy birthday, Dre. Dre's his birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday, Dre.
Cool. FanDuel question. I think he's asking Brady Singer or James Caprillion. I'm pitching neither, but I'll let Keith give me his take on that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you need the upside of McClanahan or Cease. Those guys both have legitimate ups. Like their strikeout props are sitting at 8.5. So like 9 strikeouts is the expectation here. You need one of those top 2 guys on FanDuel today.
All right. Hey, TJ, our guy Jason in the YouTube chat is all in. Thoughts on Joe Ryan for SP2 on DK?
Let's do it. I think if you're pivoting off of Cease or McClanahan, ideally Cease, he's the guy to do it with because he's got a ceiling, he's got an upside. Colorado struggles against right-handed bats. I like it. I'd personally want to pivot off Cease if I'm doing that. Keep it with McClanahan, but yeah, I'm good with that play for tournaments for sure.
Okay, we got a Taylor Ward bomb call in the chat too. Taylor Ward, best player in baseball. Just kidding, but he was really good. What a great year for Taylor Ward. Caprillion, or here's a name butcher, Tetrault, SP2 on DK. Keith, do you have any opinion on either one of them?
Yeah, it's Caprillion, pretty easy for me there. I know that like if you're just looking at his stats for the season, it's really gross. But I like what I saw in his pitch mix in his last start. I'm hoping that he goes right back to that, relies on the slider. Kansas City without Sal Perez is also not an offense I'm terribly afraid of, like the lefties, but it's Caprillion there for me.
Cool. I think I hit everyone's question. If I didn't, feel free to to retype it to me, and I apologize, and we'll definitely get it in. Ton of stacks today. So TJ, let me hear something contrarian or off the wall that you're looking to stack it up.
So I'm going to my typical strategy. I'm picking my top stacks, and I'm looking to some of the back half of the lineup guys. So for the Jays, I like my Biggio, Gurriel, Chapman today. But overall, like, there's just so many great stacks out there. Don't be afraid to get different. The Yankees are in a great spot. The Cardinals are in a great spot. Texas is in a great spot. The White Sox are in a great spot. Pick who you like and roll with it, because we don't have to worry about too much concentrated ownership, because there's so many great spots out there today. For me personally, it's Blue Jays 1, Twins 2, and I think St. Louis 3, Guardians 4. That's kind of how I feel about it now since the lineups have come out. But there's just so many great ones on the board today.
Keith, you got any love for Ortega? Is he too cheap to not play him?
I don't know that he's too cheap to not play, but I think he is absolutely fine to play. Yep.
Cool. What's your contrarian look here for today? Stack it up. Give us something.
Yeah, I love the bottom of the Blue Jays order call. Chapman and Biggio in particularly looking very nice. The Cardinals are my favorite stack. I've been on them the last couple of days. They've burned me, but there's some cheap options there, like a Dylan Carlson in the outfield that lines up well. You pair that with one of the high upside bats in Goldschmidt or Arenado, Tommy Edman in there. You've got a nice little stack. I like the way they set up against Alec Mills. And the Yankees too. I mean, the reverse splits of Urquidy versus the power of the Yankees from the right side is very attractive. So Judge and Stanton are somebody I'm trying to go overweight on for sure.
Yeah, and Grant has one at Scores and Odds at like 6-1. So check out Scores and Odds. A lot of good premium picks over there as well. You haven't given us a home run call today. Everyone's doing it. You got anything up your sleeve, Keith?
Oh man, you're gonna make me go back somewhere I don't want to go. So Melendez,
Keith, will you get a tattoo if we get 100 likes?
Oh man, I don't know if I can get on board with this.
Come on, man. Tramp stamp.
I have no idea what I would even get. I suppose it would be Cubs related. But yeah, I don't know. 150 maybe you could talk me into it.
150.
150 likes for Keith's tattoo.
What's our time frame here? It's the first game just locked. How long are you willing to give this thing, Keith?
There's 163 people watching, so we need everyone but 13 people watching to hit that like button for Keith's Cub tattoo.
Man, maybe next show.
It'll be Jason Hayward hitting a home run.
No, it definitely will not be Jason Hayward.
Cool.
Home runs. I love Melendez. That was going to be one. Dre had that one. Chapman was the other one I had kind of in the back of my mind. TJ took that one. Love both of those guys. I'm going to go to George Springer, though. The Blue Jays are hitting a couple of homers. Springer first game back. Give me George Springer.
Naked HD tat. I'm laughing.
Yeah, there you go.
Naked HD in chat asking for a naked HD tat
call here. So, man, we'll have to keep that in our back pocket. Yeah, happy birthday again, Dre. Devin, let's bring Devin on. I'd like to bring Devin on quick before we get out of here. What are you playing today, buddy? You got any contrarian calls here? Any home run picks?
I could take a look at my lineups real quick. First, before we do, BHB in Discord says DK Cash, Kirilloff, or Reyes. My stacks, I have a lot of Texas, a lot of Toronto, a lot of White Sox, some Baltimore mixed in. I think my single entry, though, is a Texas Milwaukee stack, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. You have any tattoos, Devin? I mean, maybe Devin.
I do actually. I have 3. One right here on my chest. It's a camera. It's because I went to film school. Got my initials here. My grandfather and I share initials, and I got one on my back that I'm not gonna go all into. But it's a slippery slope. I find myself wanting more.
We got 10 likes. He brought up the tattoos, by the way. So.
I mentioned in chat. I said it to Andre. I've been looking into the tattoo since we got those 150 likes. I got my graphic designer and head of production for agentsofandom.com. He's cooking me up something. I'm gonna thinking I'm getting it right here. It'll be with great power comes great responsibility with a little Spidey on it. And I can't say Kirk D's called me out. He was like, he probably wanted to get this tattoo. He was playing us. It was a combo of the two. It was one for the likes, help promote RG. It's two. It's not like it was something I was like planning on getting anything anyways, but it was like something I was always considering. It was in the back of my mind, and then I just never prioritized it. So it was a bit of a combo of the two.
Yeah, I was looking in the live chat Discord like an idiot. So I have a couple more questions on to rattle off here from Discord real quick that didn't start. And I apologize if I missed some of these in the Discord. Let's see here. DK Cash, Kirk and Nolan Gorman, or Jeffers and Story?
I'd go Kirk and Gorman.
Yeah, and those games are still good. So
Kirk and Gorman, yeah,
is the call there. Yeah, Matt Chapman or Josh Donaldson. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those single entry moves. Like a lot of these 2v2s guys, like they're in such good spots that I'm scrolling through that you're posting.
For cash and like the safer play is probably Donaldson, but I love Matt Chapman for tournaments. Chapman Guriel Biggio is one of my favorite like 3-man combos of the day.
All right. This is a fun show. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. The 140 games are about to have first pitch, so best of luck today. Anything else before we get out of here, boys? Well, let's go watch some baseball.
Let's go watch some baseball.
Let's do it.
Let's go watch some baseball.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for the great questions. For Keith, TJ, and Devin, I'm Justin. See you later, and good luck.